Always remember, your focus determines your reality.
In time, you will learn to trust your feelings. Then you will be invincible.
The greatest teacher, failure is.
Peace is a lie. There is only passion.
May the Force be with us all.
You ever notice how silence in the galaxy is never really empty? It is just waiting for something to decide it has a voice again. That is what Kyber does. It does not sit still like a stone. It listens, it remembers, and sometimes it refuses to forget. There are places in the galaxy where Kyber grows like crystal forests under pressure older than language. Ilum is the one everyone talks about. But Ilum is just the surface story, the clean version, the version the Jedi were comfortable teaching younglings before the galaxy got complicated. The crystals there respond to presence, to intention, to emotion. But deeper in the archives, there are mentions of crystals that do more than respond. Crystals that react like they already know what you are going to become. There is a kind of Kyber that does not choose a wielder. It anticipates one. And that is where things stop feeling like mythology and start feeling like a warning. Because once a crystal starts predicting you, it is already inside your future. The darksaber is the easiest place to begin when people want to understand abnormal Kyber behavior. But even that explanation is incomplete. That blade does not behave like a standard Kyber construct. It resists flow. It drags against motion. It carries weight like it is arguing with the hand that holds it. That is not color. That is personality embedded in structure. And it is rare for a weapon to feel like it has an opinion about you. Then there are crystals that have been touched by corruption so many times they stop responding cleanly. Not fully broken, not fully bled. Something worse, something adapted. A Kyber crystal like that does not simply turn red. It fractures its own resonance pattern. The blade becomes unstable, not because the emitter is faulty, but because the crystal is no longer convinced it should behave consistently. That is what repeated domination does. That kind of silence can be more unsettling than rage, because rage still connects to something living. Absence does not, and absence does not argue back. There are also crystals that were never meant to be Kyber at all, but the galaxy has a habit of improvising. A crate dragon pearl, for example, is not born from Kyber caves or Jedi tradition. It is pressure made physical inside ancient bone and mineral. It holds energy in a way that feels almost biological, like something that learned how to store force through survival instead of harmony. That is not refinement. That is adaptation under digestion of time itself. Then you have artifacts like the Kyber crystal, a relic spoken of more in fragments than in full accounts. A crystal that does not just channel the Force, but amplifies it beyond normal expectation. Some say it was used for healing. Some say it was used for control. Both versions tend to come from whoever last held it. That is the problem with artifacts like that. They do not stay consistent long enough for history to agree on what they are. They reshape the storyteller. There are crystals associated with purity as well. Solari is often mentioned in older Jedi records. A crystal tied to clarity of intent, not innocence. Clarity. They're not the same thing. Clarity can be sharp enough to cut illusions out of a person without ever touching a blade. There are crystals tied to ancient Sith and experimental research as well. Barabor ingots behave less like Kyber and more like unstable heat memories. Weapons built from them do not just cut. They overwhelm. They turn contact into consequence. The galaxy does not often admit when it creates something it cannot safely categorize. So it calls it rare, or lost, or experimental, and moves on. But the crystals do not move on. Some remain, some evolve. Some change owners the way storms change direction. Then there are those rare dual artifacts. Heart of the Guardian and Mantle of the Force. one leaning toward direct action, the other toward amplification and control of presence. When paired, they represent not balance, but tension. And tension is where most dangerous innovations begin, because the Force is very interested in what happens right before collapse. There are also crystals tied to environments rather than individuals. Worlds like Christophsis produce crystalline structures that respond more to geography than to will. Energy behaves differently there, less personal, more architectural, like the planet itself is part of the circuit. Not all Kyber is found in caves. Some of it is grown in systems so large, you stop thinking of it as a material and start thinking of it as weather. Then there are darker traditions. Night Sister practices that treat crystal matter as vessels for intent rather than partners in harmony. Those crystals carry residue, not emotion, but imprint, something that does not fade cleanly when the ritual ends. And that leads to the things the Empire tried not to classify too openly. The Blackwing Project. It was never just a virus. It was an attempt to make persistence itself reproducible, to see if life could continue without agreement from death. And somewhere inside those experiments, crystals were exposed to that corruption. Not as Kyber variants, but as containment failures. As storage media for something that should not have had storage at all. A Blackwing contaminated crystal does not behave like a weapon. It behaves like a vector, a carrier of continuation that does not require consent. That is not darkness in the Sith sense. That is removal of limitation. And removal of limitation is always where things stop being understandable. Kyber is not rare because it is difficult to find. It is rare because it does not stay the same once it is found. Every crystal is a negotiation between material and force, between intention and response, between what you are and what you are willing to become, and sometimes between what the crystal is willing to let you survive. There are stories of crystals that reject certain hands entirely, not through destruction, but through refusal. You start to realize something. The Kyber is not just reacting. It is deciding how much of itself you are allowed to hear. And the answer is never the same twice.
If this holocron stirred something, if it made you question what the Force truly shows, subscribe. More Kybercrons are already open. Forgotten knowledge, buried truths, and echoes the Jedi tried to silence. You'll find them waiting in the playlist on your screen. And now, the archive turns to you. If there's a lost truth, a question, or a shadow in the lore you want uncovered next, leave it in the comments below. Every Kybercron begins as a fragment, and some of the strongest fragments come from those who listen closely. If your idea becomes the next episode, your name will be entered into the archive and spoken aloud. But when that Kybercron is opened, knowledge is meant to be shared until the next Kybercron is unsealed and another truth is brought into the light. This is Jalen Tross, Keeper of the Kybercrons, signing